Joining me now on the Worldwide Quarterback Podcast, it's my pleasure to introduce a fellow Australian, but he's a fourth-round draft choice for the San Francisco 49ers. He was a unanimous All-American in college, as well as a Ray Guy Award winner. Let's welcome in the all-round coffee savant, Mitch Wishnowsky.
Thanks, mate. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate it, Mitch. How's everything going with the off-season? You mentioned there you got a fair bit of spare time, but you've been doing a lift and a punt this morning. What's a general day looking like for you at the moment?
At first we got me and my fiance Maddie got a Rottweiler puppy. So I track my sleep. I'm pretty full on about getting the right sleep and stuff. And at first my sleep took like a big hit, and it was hard to just do the lift and the punt and get everything done. And even like when you get bad sleep, it increases your chance for injuries and stuff like that. So really the month of February was just looking after the puppy, lifting and, coming home and getting extra sleep whenever he was sleeping. But now it's sort of not like gotten a little bit more normal where he's grown up, we can leave him alone or take him with us. And so I'll punt 2 times a week. I punt 3 times a week during season. So I'll get up to 3 times a week closer to the season. So I'll punt, kick off, do a bit of running. I'll lift most days. Most mornings I'll lift, and then I'll run in the afternoon.
So when you run, what are you doing? Are you just going for like a jog, or is it a sprint? What are you doing?
Yeah, I can't. I hate going for a jog. It's mind numbing. So I'll go down and do like different striders. Like some days, if I'm feeling good, I'll do some sprints and stuff like that. And then just like some body stuff, like posture stuff, like yoga sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm. And so obviously the yoga is pretty important for the flexibility side of things for punting. Is this the sprinting or the running? Is that just an extra that you've added in just because it helps you feel fresher or fitter or more powerful? Or is that something that's really spoken of highly about what you should be doing?
I think the running actually helps quite a bit. Like striders will help with recovery, doing like some sprints and stuff. I think because our position is just like a one maximum effort sort of movement. So doing some like anaerobic sort of stuff like sprints, I think is actually pretty good. So I try to do that at least a couple of times a week. And I'm actually more on the side of like flexibility. People think that your leg needs to come above your head and all that sort of stuff. I'm more on the side of like you contact the ball probably 1.5 feet from the ground. So like what your leg does after that doesn't really matter that much. The ball's already gone. So I think flexibility is good for sort of like injury prevention and stuff. But I think the big emphasis on punters being really flexible, I don't buy that still.
You think it's a bit of a myth?
I think it's a bit of a myth. Yeah. The ball's gone. Doesn't matter where your leg goes after that.
It makes for a good picture, but you're right. Like, I mean, as you say, you're not kicking it from that high. So definitely spot on there. Mitch, do you still get nervous before punting? I know when we spoke last time in America, you mentioned it was an every time thing. Has that changed at all in the second year?
No, still get pretty nervous before every game and before every punt. Nearly everyone I speak to is still like, yeah, of course I get nervous. I think Robbie, my kicker, who's played for like 20 years, he's like, no. But he's like the only one that's just like, no, don't care. So I think at that level, I think everyone still gets pretty nervous.
And is it something that you think drives you forward in terms of you got that anxiety and it sets you straight in terms of, okay, well, I need to lock in and do this well, or that fear of failure pushes you forward, or is it just white noise almost?
I think that sort of, I think there's like science would argue that, a certain level of stress improves performance. Like even when I played soccer or football, or like, I think everyone, or like track runners or anything, I think everyone runs their fastest in competition because there's that extra sort of level of stress, which can improve performance. So as long as you can control it and not let it get the better of you, I think it's helps performance.
100%. And so we speak of helping performance, Mitch. Something that still fascinates me to this day is when we spoke about the brain room back there in Santa Clara. Did you use that much at all this year?
Yeah, I've got like a little portable one with me. I
No
do
way.
it nearly every day.
Can you shed any light on what that is and what it does at all?
So they basically hook up, I think they're like electrodes to sort of measure different brain waves. Like there's alpha, beta, different brain waves, and like they'll put it on different parts of your head, and they'll find where one is sort of way out of where the optimal like frequency is. So if it's at like 12 to 14,000 megahertz or whatever, I don't even know if that's how they measure the frequency. I'm just saying words.
Yeah. That's okay.
But if that's like the optimal sort of range, and you're like way above, we basically hook it up to, I just watch Netflix or a YouTube video or something like that, work on breathing, things like that, and it'll sort of light up the screen. It'll either like light up the screen so I can watch the video, or volume will work well. And once you go out of those zones, it'll either dim the screen so I can't really see what I'm watching, or the volume will cut off. So it's sort of like a little negative reinforcement. When I'm outside of that zone, it's sort of just teaching my brain to, no, you want to be in this zone. So, I mean, all I do is watch Netflix, but when I have it hooked up, it's teaching my brain to stay in these certain sort of zones.
Do you feel it's helped you at all the last year or two?
I do it in the off season, and then like this last year during the season, I get very like, I'll do, if I have a good game and I'm feeling good, I won't want to mess with anything, and I'll keep everything the exact same. So I sort of went away from it during the season, but for the first time this off season, at the end of the season, I came back to Santa Barbara, and I was struggling with sleep even before we got the puppy. I was really struggling with sleep. I was getting bad sleep scores, recovery was bad, everything like that. And I told the guy that I work with my brain, and he's like, okay, well, let's do this, and we'll work on these brain waves and things like that. And I did that, and my sleep improved dramatically. So I know that for my sleep, it really helped. So even if it improves my sleep, because like sleep is just as important as working out and your nutrition in the way I see it. So it definitely helped my sleep. So
and sorry, mate, didn't mean to cut you off there. I know you're massive about your sleep. What do you do? Like, is there an app that you use? What do you look at? Like, are you in bed at the exact same minute every night? How obsessive are you with it?
I use a ring to track it, and it'll track like the different stages of sleep while you're asleep. Your HRV, your resting heart rate, when your resting heart rate drops to its lowest, different things like that. And then I've just looked into like how long you should eat before going to bed, and different things to improve sleep, different supplements to improve, like magnesium, and what else? Just different things to basically, nothing crazy, but just basically what anyone could research to improve sleep. But I just track it, and I've found like a big improvement in how my body feels and things like that.
So do you find with things like that, obviously you're quite an inquisitive guy with the research you do with your sleep, with your dogs, seemingly with most things. Are the medical guys at the Niners a really helpful resource to lean on for that, or do you just tend to go and do your own research?
Yeah, there's some guys that sort of work with, it's called a GOSCU, and that's sort of like the yoga sort of stuff. It's more of like a postural, like realignment thing. And they're all pretty good with sort of different sleep things, like sort of like little different biohacks. Like they have like different red light machines. It's sort of like light therapy for your body. There's different, they know lots of stuff, and that's basically where I've got a lot of it from.
That's cool. And so let's switch it up. We've gone through like the whole medical side of things, so I'm learning a lot about that. It's great. But in terms of the practical side of your job, Mitch, do you have a particular routine, or of course you got a routine, but a set of cues that when you're walking out on the field about to punt that you go through in your mind, or I guess look to tick off each time?
Not necessarily. It's more like a specific cue that I've been working on. Like, for example, it'll be like months or even years where I'll be like focusing on my ball drop, or I'll be focusing on my steps, or like I find now, it was actually most of last year and this year, I think to my head, no backswing. So like when I swing to take, it's just straight. My leg goes straight up. And when you watch film, it's no real difference to when I'm thinking that. I still have a backswing, but what I'm really doing is it forces me to take a shorter plant step. But yeah, I'll just go in and have a specific cue that I've been using that is helping me punt good. So, you know, one week it can be, focus on the ball drop or slightly inside ball drop, or the next week it can be, straight leg swing or whatever. But there'll be some cue that I'm thinking as I'm waiting for the snap, like no backswing, no backswing, no backswing.
And you're pretty relaxed in terms of, you don't get too amped up from what I've seen, if you do a great punt or if it's the worst punt of your life. In terms of when I've watched you, there's very little difference in your body language as such. Is there any chance we're going to see some sort of celebration if you do a great punt in the future?
I don't like the chances. Yeah, pretty even out on the field. If I hit a good punt, that's what I'm paid to do, and if I hit a bad punt, there's fines for bad body language. So I trot off regardless.
What's the fine system on that one?
It's nothing terrible. It's I think some of the position groups fines can get up there, but ours isn't anything terrible.
Yeah, that's fair. And how did you find last season, mate, for yourself? How did you see it from a personal perspective, but also team perspective?
I know the team was hit pretty hard with injuries and things like that. So I think, yeah, we're definitely better than what our record. I can't remember what our record was, but what our record says we were last year. And personally, I felt pretty good. My stats were pretty similar to my first year. But personally, I feel like I punted better last year. I feel like I was on the up.
Anything particular that made you think that, or makes you feel that way?
I think I just came in a little more prepared. My first year, you're sort of preparing for the Senior Bowl and then the Combine and different things like that. Whereas, after your first year, your offseason is to build strength, and there's no real reason for you to be ready to perform, on January 26th or whenever the Senior Bowl is, and then at the Combine, and then at pro days and workouts. So you can more like focus on the weight room and building up your strength, and then you sort of get into punting a little bit later. So I think just a better off season, and I think I just got better at punting as well.
Awesome. And you seem like a really relaxed dude anytime I've had anything to do with you, Mitch. But what gets you excited? What gets you amped up? Is there anything?
I love soccer. I watch a bit of English Premier League and any of the Champions League stuff. I love FIFA. Fishing. Amped up though. Really amped up. I love little games like spike ball, pickleball, like little sort of throw together games. Yeah.
You get pretty competitive, don't you? I remember we spoke about the imaginary volleyball net you had going in the back or the front yard or the backyard. Have you still got that going on?
We're out of that place because they didn't like us having a dog.
Right.
Not that we just got the dog and they were like, you got a dog. We moved out down here, and we know we're not going back there because they don't like dogs. So
easy decision.
We'll have to find a different place for me and Maddie to play volleyball.
Yeah, well, I think it's probably a good idea, mate. I think your competitive spirit, we can't let that go to waste. I know Maddie said you're very, very keen on a scoreboard and all those sorts of things. So you got to carry that competitive spirit over.
Oh yeah.
Now, mate, let's talk through the coffee over there. I know it's a sore spot for you a little bit, but you've come up with a little bit of a hack. Last time we spoke, it was a triple espresso plus the free milk at the Starbucks. And that's a better option than the triple iced latte, which was about triple the price. Is that still what you're rolling with, or have you come up with anything ingenious since then?
We've got a decent coffee machine at home now.
Right.
So that's where most of my coffees will be from. But we'll get a triple espresso on ice from Starbucks, which is like $2.50, and then you just ask for some milk after that. Otherwise, an iced latte is something like $6 or something. So
can't be paying that.
Can't be paying $12 for me and Maddie to get a coffee every day. So especially when they're not great.
That's the thing.
If all your options is bad coffee, you may as well only pay $2.50 for your bad coffee.
Well, if that's not the most sensible thing I hear all week, then I don't know. I don't know what is. Yeah, it's interesting, and I suppose there's a real pride in that for you to get to where you've got to. There's 32 jobs of yours in the world, and to come all the way from Western Australia to then go to JUCO, to then go to college, and then to still be in the job. Obviously, there's an enormous amount of pride in that for you. Do you ever think about that at all, like that journey?
Yeah, I mean, you sort of get into sort of like autopilot, and it's like my life is right now. It's work out, punt, do everything you need to do, and then you sort of sit back and randomly it's like, geez, things could be different. Like I was a glazier, 10 years ago. So definitely randomly I'll look back and be like, I'm pretty proud of how what I've been able to do.
And I know you're a humble man, so this question may not hit right, but what makes you great, Mitch? Obviously you've got the talent, but what do you think makes you great and to be able to be where you are?
I don't know. I mean, yeah, great's tough, but I think with a lot of the Aussies that have come over and have made it, a lot of them sort of like, I feel don't really care what what other people want from them. Sort of like when I was in JUCO, like I saw like Fridays and Saturdays as a chance to sort of get ahead. when other people are doing other stuff. So like, and I know that like Cam, Dicko, Jordo, like a lot of the Aussies that are in the NFL are pretty similar. They're pretty disciplined with, what they do, how they spend their time, things like that. So I think what I think is sort of what made me where I am today is just sort of like discipline. You're not always going to get to do what you want to do. Like a beer on a Friday and Saturday afternoon sounds great, but it ain't. If that's what every other punter's going to do, you're just going to be like every other punter. So you've got to do what other people won't, sort of thing. So I don't think I'm anything like physically incredible. I'm not the biggest or anything like that, but I think, just hard work, discipline.
Well, that's brilliant, man. And as you say, you got to do extraordinary things or to be extraordinary, don't you really? Like,
yeah.
And so, Mitch, something else I want to touch on in terms of, you speak about that discipline. Obviously, there's going to be plenty of times where either it's self-inflicted in terms of you don't feel like doing something, you feel like you'd rather have a lazy day, or you've got some personal issues going on, some adversity. How do you unpack and, I guess, deal with adversity when it comes and just keep on the path that you need to be on?
I mean, there's always going to be little setbacks and stuff like that. And there's also nothing wrong. Like, you got to listen to your body as well. There's nothing wrong with the rest. But yeah, I think especially like when we got the puppy, I never felt like working out. But I think, I don't know who said it, but it's like, don't learn to be motivated, like learn self-discipline, because motivation comes and goes. But it's the guy, like, you've got to go out and do what you need to do when you're not feeling great. So I don't know, I just I know what I need to do, I guess.
Yeah, no, it's good, mate. I don't mean to go too deep, but it's really enlightening. I guess it's one of those things you just do on autopilot, as you said, or just part of your daily routine, are things that most people look and go, wow, like I hadn't thought of it in that sense. So I appreciate you going so deep with that. I just want to switch it up. We've only got a few more minutes, I think. So with being an Aussie, obviously that comes a lot of fun, and being in a different culture as well. I know you've been over in America for a few years. What is it like? Is it still, I guess, like a little different in terms of the way that you gel with teammates and things like that, or are you pretty seamless right now?
It's a little different. The culture's obviously different from Oz. But yeah, there's everywhere I've been able to connect with a decent amount of people. And I mean, I get along with everybody, but by connect, I mean like really like have some good friends and stuff. So yeah, and there's also been a lot of Aussies wherever I've been. Not San Francisco, but at Duke, there was two of my mates, Owen and Joel, were there at different times with me. At Utah, Tom Hackett was one of my best mates. And then one of my best mates in America is he was the punter before Tom, Nick Marsh. He's an American, but yeah, I've been able to get some good friends, a couple of good friends everywhere I go. And then other than that, like, just be pally with everybody else on the team. They're all good blokes.
Yeah, and that's the thing, isn't it? Like, I guess with the team, my perception and understanding when talking to guys in the league is people think it's like a footy, an AFL type locker room, in the sense of you all sort of know each other, you spend a fair bit of time together. It's not really like that, is it?
Not at all. No. Like, there's first off, every year there'll be, 40 new dudes in there, especially during like training camp and stuff. And then there's always people coming in and out and stuff like that. There's different position groups. Everyone has different meetings. The only time you really will all together is out on the practice field. And even that, like, specialists are with the specialists. So apart from that, like maybe lunch, everyone's sort of doing their own thing with their own position group. So there'll be people on the team that the most conversation I've ever had with them is, "Hey mate, like, morning." So, which is like, even Maddie played volleyball, which is, 12 people on a team or something. So she's baffled by it. And she's American, but yeah, people back home, they're like, "Oh, what's he like?" And I'm like, "He seems like a great guy, but all we've had is a morning." So
well, that's the thing, because I think I asked you one of those questions when we met, and you said like exactly that, and I was so baffled. But it's extraordinary, and a guy that's probably not going to be there. I know you've spoken to a little bit, Richard Sherman. He's obviously got a really, really cool dude, having met him, but he's obviously, a bit of a louder guy. What was he like in the locker room, even just from observing? And I know you guys had some good chats, if you wanted to share any of that.
He's definitely not like a loud, outspoken guy in the locker room. I think he's just, he's a pretty smart dude, pretty switched on. He was involved in the union and stuff like that. So we'll talk about different things like that. So we get paid slower because a lot of guys spend money too quick.
Right.
So we get paid slower. And in my head, I'm like, I'd rather get paid quicker so I can invest the money. Like, I'd rather get my money as soon as possible, invest it, instead of like the owners having it and them investing it, sort of thing. So that's all I think. I'm like, I mean, money's more valuable the sooner you get it. Instead of the payments being dragged out. And then he's like, I understand, but a lot of guys, need it to be drawn out so that they can manage their money a little bit better. And I'll be like, in Australia, people would be like, that's madness. Like, these guys need like someone to handle their money so they don't spend that much. And like, so like, we'll talk about stuff like that, but he's a good dude, but I don't think he'll be back, from what I've seen and what he said.
As is the way with Richard, as he said. Yeah. So can I just touch on that quickly? Obviously, we're not going to go into how much you're getting paid per whatever, but what's the structure like? Is it monthly? Like, how often are you paid? And as you said, like, what's that whole process about someone else controlling it for you or for them?
It used to just be every week you get your game check, and now it's drawn out over like 38 weeks or something. So basically they've changed it to, instead of like once you played you get your check, to you almost get like a weekly or like a fortnightly check throughout the year or something.
Yeah, so it's just obviously just less money each time, really.
Yeah, they just divide it up and you get more checks throughout the year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, cool. And last one, mate, just how is it for someone like you, who again is pretty relaxed, but also as a specialist, you're removed from, I guess, the quarterback situation. What's it like as a player, just sitting on the outside, knowing you guys have traded up? Like, what was your first reaction to that, first of all? Actually, let's just go into that.
I couldn't believe it. I was in Arizona with Maddie, visiting her sister, and I'm just like, and there's lots of like things on Instagram where I'll be on my search page and I'll click it and it'll be something unbelievable, and it'll be like the name of the Instagram page will be like super real NFL news, like, obviously fake stuff.
Yeah.
And I saw it and I was like, this is fake. And I clicked on it and I'm like Bleacher Report. Okay. And then like I refresh and it's just like, I'm like, oh my God, this is crazy. And then everyone, like, if I'm at like the gym and someone recognizes me or like anyone, they're like, hey, so like, do you reckon you guys will pick some Fields or Mac Jones, or like, who are you guys going to pick? And I'm like, mate, John and Kyle don't call me and be like, hey, Mitch, we really want to keep you happy. Like, who do you think, Justin or Mac? I'm like, so I only know what's on Instagram, really. So, and a lot of the time they have no idea either. So,
yeah,
it's all up in the air.
I think John and Kyle are missing a trick. I don't know what they're doing if they're not calling you
should
first.
Give me a call.
Yeah, 100%. So, like, is that exciting for you to just like to sit there knowing you got such a high pick, like, and just I guess all the excitement that comes with that, and as you said, like, no one's coming up to you if you're going, oh, hey, Mitch, what do you think we're going to do with pick 11? I mean, they might, but it's obviously not the same level of excitement. What's that like? Are you just like a fan, like just as excited, or like how does that sit with you as a player?
I think I'm more just sort of interested in how it's going to be. Like Jimmy, I mean, Jimmy took us to the Super Bowl, and I think if anything, it might just be because he's hasn't been able to like stay healthy like last year and the year before the Super Bowl. So, it's like I expect probably Jimmy to play and the guy to learn, but whoever the new guy is to learn behind Jimmy. But then, like, I was talking to Matty about it, and Matty's like, well, what if Jimmy stays healthy and you guys go back to the Super Bowl? Like, what about the next year? I'm like, yeah, no idea. So
that's for John and Kyle to figure out. That's their that's their pay grade.
I'm just more intrigued to see how it all shakes down and, you know, what that's going to look like.
So you'll be tuning into
no idea what it's going to be.
No, I didn't. I didn't think you would, but with the greatest respect, I didn't think you'd be all over it. But what will you be tuning in? Will you watch it live, just like anyone else, or have you watched it previously? I mean, obviously last year.
I don't think I watched it too much last year. I think I watched like the first bit, as everybody does, and then I don't think we had many punters in the draft last year.
No.
There was Aaron Sipos.
I thought you meant that got drafted.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'll just sort of like watch for any of the Aussies, watch if any of their names get called or punters. But yeah, I'll watch the start, and then this year there's a few Aussies that'll hopefully get their name called as well. So I'll keep an eye out for that.
Yeah, fingers crossed, man. There's a few, so hopefully we can get a few more going and continue that pro kick legacy. So it's phenomenal.
Just not to the Niners.
Just not to the Niners, yeah. Well, unless a practice squad, we allow a practice squad, or we staying away from that as well?
No.
Send them elsewhere.
Send them elsewhere. Practice elsewhere.
Yeah, easy, mate. Well, Mitch, thanks so much for joining me, mate. I really appreciate it. It's been a brilliant conversation. It's good to see you again, and definitely wishing you the best of luck this year. And I'm sure we'll chat once the season's on the way, my man.
Sweet. Thanks, mate. Thanks for having me.